Okay, so this article is saying the US housing shortage is quote unquote awful and will likely get worse with no apparent end in sight. So I've been saying for years that the housing, we're not even in a housing shortage, we're in a housing crisis. Okay, let's be clear. We have boatloads and boatloads of homeless people everywhere. You go to any major city and you will see just hordes of homeless people. That's not normal. You cannot have a functioning country with like a third of your citizens homeless in some parts of the country. You can't do it. Everything's just way overpriced. Everything, like, people can no longer afford to work and to live in the cities they work in. They have to travel like 2-3 hours away just to be able to dream of having a roof over their head. Unless they want to rent, and even renting, they're still paycheck to paycheck. So really, it's just a game of musical chairs. And it says, how dire is the decades-long housing shortage in the United States? It's been longer than a decade. I mean, we've just been having a perpetually increasing housing shortage. We're having less and less and less and less houses being built, and it's getting more expensive, and the wages aren't rising. And I'd say I wouldn't even call it a shortage. It's not that there isn't enough houses, because let's say if we had everybody live in a house of like 5 people each, that would probably be able to fit all the people in the country. The problem is nobody can afford housing. Nobody can afford it because the minimum wage is so low. The minimum wage should be at least $20 an hour. And realistically, I'd say $25 an hour. And if you're not working for at least $20 an hour, you're basically a slave. Because that doesn't cover the cost of gas. That doesn't cover the cost of a healthy diet. It doesn't cover the cost of, just surprise expenses. You're basically a slave. You're basically a slave. And anything that just pops out at you financially could potentially destroy you. Now, you're working just to maybe get by another day, maybe. But you never really know, because you can't really predict anything in this economy. So it says there doesn't appear to be any end in sight. Nadia, whatever, a senior economist and director of forecasting for the National Association of Realtors, told USA Today. It says, depending on who you ask, experts believe there is a nationwide housing shortage of between 2 million to nearly 6 million. So could you believe that? 6 million. 2 million to 6 million. So doesn't that nearly coincide with the number of homeless people we have in this country? Isn't there like 2 million homeless people? There's probably way more than 2 million. But yeah, that number coincides perfectly. So we're all telling these people just, oh man, just work your way up. No, it's a game of musical chairs. No matter how hard you work, no matter how much you do, no matter how many hours you put in, there will always be someone somewhere short a house. That's the game we're living in. It's a merry-go-round of just just self-delusion. Okay, you're not going to be able to, somebody's going to lose. That's just not even a part of the equation. Somebody's going to lose. That's not even part of the question. And Jeff Bezos, he's over here laughing. He got his seat in first, and the rest of us are just running around in circles trying to find those last 2 chairs, and we think we're actually having some sort of quality of life, just driving in traffic an hour or so just to get to work. Our infrastructure is bloated. We have no public transportation. We have no no real bus lines, no trains, no nada. You have to pay for a car just to get to work. Is your employer going to pay for your car? Heck no. It's not going to pay for you to get to work. We have all this stuff, and just getting sick can bankrupt you. Just getting sick. Like, it doesn't even take much. You just need to get sick. Not even getting sick. You just go to the doctor for a checkup, and that'll set you back thousands of dollars. So, are we really a free country, or are we just, enslaving ourselves? It really seems like it. Anything can just set you back. Housing, medical care, dental. Let's say you have a tooth abscess, you have to pay for that. You can't get it for free, even though you've been paying taxes your entire life and you were born as an American citizen. You can't get free dental care. You can't get some housing. If you're working over 40 hours a week, shouldn't they guarantee somewhere that you can get housing? I mean, what is it called? Section 8? That's a scam, because first of all, they're not safe. They're not safe to live in. They're crime-ridden slums. And then, you have to join a wait list that's like 10 years long. So it's just it's like people are trapped. It's like people are just trapped in this market. Especially if you're young, you're trapped at a place you don't want to be in indefinitely. Whether you're homeless, whether you're living with your parents, whether you're just with a roommate you don't like, or just living in a dilapidated somebody's garage. Maybe you're living in your neighbor's garage or basement. But people are just sick of it. People are like, maybe if I just work a little bit longer, maybe I just gotta work a little bit longer, and maybe put in some more hours, and then by the time you actually get enough money that you were saving, due to inflation, the prices are still going to increase. You think they're lowering the price of housing by increasing the interest rate? No, that's just making your monthly payments even bigger. And people don't even realize that. Is making the interest rate higher going to save the economy? No, it's just making your monthly payment bigger, and nobody even understands that. A lot of people are still buying houses for like a $500,000 home, and they don't read the dotted line, and they end up paying like $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month. They don't. Oh my God, why is the payments? And then they just end up getting bankrupt and foreclose. The housing market is just a giant scam. It's just a giant scam. So let's read the rest of this article. Evangelou said the association estimates there's a shortage of 5.5 million homes. How do they not know how much of a shortage it is? Why is it such a huge estimate? 3 million homes is a lot. It's a ginormous amount. That's like enough to house 30 million people. If you have 4 people in each household, that's like 30 million people. And they're saying they don't know. It says the organization uses housing shortage tracker to compare the supply and demand by the number of single-family homes housing permits issued for every 2 new jobs in 175 U.S. markets. It's finding cities both big and small are dealing with severe underbuilding. So basically, by the time we reach 10 years from now, we'll just be, we'll all be homeless except for the people who are rich, because we don't have affordable housing. It's treated like a luxury. There should always be enough housing. There should always, I don't care. You should be able to work 3 months saved and be able to afford rent. And you should be able to work 3 years saved and be able to afford a home paid in cash. That's how it used to be. Why aren't we putting our foot down and saying this is ridiculous? This is ridiculous. How expensive housing is. How stagnant wages are. The lack of opportunity. Used to be able to work for like, yeah, you used to be able to work like 2 weeks and be able to afford a house. I'm serious. In the 1920s, you used to be able to work for like 2 weeks and be able to afford a house. Now you can't do that. You can't do that. So really, what I'm trying to say is that, no, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And I could make 1,000 videos on this subject, but you know, our grandparents' generation, they could just work not even a one paycheck and just be able to afford to have somewhere to live. Now people are literally saving up for years and still can afford to pay rent because the selection is so little. So little. No, literally, if I were you guys, I just live in an RV or something, a cheap, crappy RV, or maybe your car, and then save. Don't pay. The rent is worse than anything else. Rent is worse than being homeless. Okay, if you're just paying into something and you're just living paycheck to paycheck, that's the worst possible scenario, because honestly there's no sort of security in that. At least with a house, you're paying into something, paying to own, but with rent you're just paying to paying to have bare minimum a roof over your head. And that's really what it is. Maybe live overseas. Maybe join the military, honestly, because these are really our only options at this point. If you want long-term living, you will have to take creative measures. It's not the same thing as our grandparents' generation, where we just work at a factory and the factory gives us all these sort of benefits, dental, healthcare, bonus packages. Now all that stuff is gone. They just give you a paycheck. Oh, and people treat just getting a paycheck like it's the greatest thing ever. I need my paycheck. I need my paycheck. And it's just like, a paycheck is nothing. A paycheck is a piece of paper, an IOU. So we're not even demanding that we at least have enough to get health insurance, groceries, all this other store stuff. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you like the video, like, comment, and subscribe.